News Radio 700 WLW.
I don't care who you are, where you live, what you do in life, you are in some way, shape, or form affected by cancer. It may be you, it may be your spouse, it may be your child, it may be your mom, it may be your dad, but we know that cancer is pervasive in this country. There are a lot of reasons why. I'm sure diet has a lot to do with it. The air may have a lot to do with it. The mere fact that we are a manufacturing nation may have a lot to do with it, but it's here. And when I saw this particular story this week, it was kind of shocking. Cancer's new face is younger and female. In fact, middle-aged women now have a higher risk of cancer than men of the same age, while women under 50 are nearly twice as likely to be diagnosed with cancer than young men. Breast cancer has climbed over 1% every single year in the past decade. That's 10%, if you're not good at math, over the last decade. Steeper rising among young women. So again, it could be diet, it could be lifestyle, it could be a lot of things. But who wouldn't want to get some sort of indication that you may be susceptible to cancer, even though it has not manifested itself yet in your body? That's where AI comes in. AI can do a lot of things. Even if you are diagnosed after getting cancer, it can help target the area with the best possible treatment. My guess is any doctor worth his salt now or her salt now is dealing with AI. But how about a place where you can go that can give you an early cancer detection test and can screen for all known solid tumors? And all you have to do is just give them a blood draw. Sounds like a pretty good deal for me. Here's an expert in all of this. His name is Sumit Rai, an expert in early cancer detection. He is with Cancer Check Labs, and he is kind enough to give some of his time here today on 700 WLW. And Sumit Rai, how are you on this glorious Saturday?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Listen, cancer touches everybody. It doesn't matter where you live, what you do. It's just there. It's in your life, either through yourself or through a loved one. And I think for years, people have been trying to get ahead of the curve. Medicine has been trying to get ahead of the curve on early cancer detection. And it sounds like your company is all about that. It's about trying to detect, A, if you're susceptible to certain cancers because of your DNA chain, and if you are someone that is, I guess, manifesting or beginning to manifest, or maybe has yet not to manifest cancer, but it might be in there. From this simple blood test, that might be something that could save people's lives in droves. Am I right about what this is all about?
So at Cancer Check Labs, our company, we developed a blood test that can detect any solid tumor or subtype, of which there's over 200, potentially at stage 0. And it's not about necessarily identifying that they're susceptible to it. There are other tests that look for genes, for instance, to see if there's susceptibility. Mm-hmm. For example, with breast cancer, which was mentioned, a BRCA1, BRCA2 gene. Yep. That means that you have a higher risk of developing breast cancer. Mm-hmm. What it doesn't mean is that you have cancer or that you will ever develop it. So what ends up happening, the problem with looking at things like just susceptibility and just risk is people start to take interventions. Take Angelina Jolie as an example. She was positive for BRCA, obviously very concerned about that, and ended up doing a double mastectomy, preemptively, because her concern, and that's a pretty extreme intervention, and I don't fault her for that. Cancer is a very scary thing. Her concern is that she may not catch it until stage 3, stage 4, at which point it could become fatal. So she chose to do that extreme intervention. If you had a test such as ours that can detect cancer and has detected cancer in stage 0 breast cancer samples, then you would not take such an extreme intervention, because survival at stage 0 is 99%, which would result in saving lives in droves, as you mentioned. Mm. The reason that our test works is because all solid tumors, breast cancer, lung, colorectal, pancreatic, liver, bladder, stomach, gastric, esophageal, thyroid, brain, skin, all the organ tumors essentially, from which 100 million people a year suffer across the globe annually. The primary tumor itself, the lump, generally does not kill you. What kills you generally is that the lump sheds tumor cells into the bloodstream, known as circulating tumor cells, or CTCs, the acronym for short. And those CTCs, those circulating tumor cells, spread the cancer in your body in a process known as metastasis, which makes your other biological organs dysfunctional, which causes them to shut down and you die. And that's how people generally die from cancer. Now, the thing about this is that all cancer, all tumors must shed to spread. You fundamentally cannot go from stage 0 to stage 1 or stage 1 to stage 2 and so on and so forth without the underlying lump, the underlying tumor, shedding these tumor cells into your bloodstream, because that is the very well-known and established mechanism of metastasis, the spread of cancer in the body. So what we did over the past 15 years was develop a technology that can extract these circulating tumor cells from a blood sample. And we extract them whole and intact, such that we can physically place them tangibly onto a glass slide, just like a tissue biopsy, because it is cellular tissue. They're whole intact cells. You can stain them just like a tissue biopsy, because again, it is cellular tissue. You can put them in the palm of a pathologist that is a physician trained to look at cells and tissues, who looks at tissue biopsies, to examine under a microscope and identify whether or not that is a tumor cell, a cancer cell. And so that's how the test really works. So what's interesting is that because all tumors must shed to spread, you will start to detect these tumor cells in the bloodstream as early as stage 0. We recently just published a paper demonstrating that we could detect stage 0 CTCs in breast cancer samples, stage 1. We are about to publish another paper demonstrating that we can detect and have 1 millimeter prostate on a blood draw. And so the reason we detect so early is because, again, these tumors must shed to spread very early in their life. I mean, 1 gram of tumor mass, 1 gram is nothing. It's very small. It's not even, say you had breast cancer to your example, 1 gram of breast cancer is not even palpable. You cannot feel it. It is so small that they will often refuse to biopsy because they will miss or they will not procure enough tissue. And if you can't biopsy it, you can't diagnose it.
So let me just stop. Let me stop you right there, Sumit, because, I mean, okay. So one would go to your clinic and this blood draw, and then you would go through the process as you just examined it, or you just explained it, I'm sorry. Is this a yearly thing? How often would you need to do this?
So you don't have to come to our clinic. We have a lab. And what happens is if you order the test, a kit will be drop shipped to your doorstep. And in that kit is everything that you need. And so to get the blood draw done, we have a few options. Number one, we have partnerships with 4,000 mobile phlebotomists that would come to your doorstep, pull your blood. It would take 5 minutes. They will pack up the kit. There's a prepaid FedEx priority label. They will take it to FedEx and drop it off. It would take you 5 minutes. Second option is you could walk into any lab test now with whom we have a partnership, and they will pull your blood at their locations, pack it up, and send it to us. The third option is obviously you can go to your provider. Your doctor or nurse can pull your blood. And so that's really all it takes. Now, in terms of frequency of screening, generally we say annually, every 12 months. The reason for that is truly behavioral, because people are trained to think about checkups on an annual basis, annual physicals, annual exams, so on and so forth. The one caveat to that I would say is if you have risk factors, if you're a smoker, if you have a genetic history or family history of cancer, if you have occupational hazards, like you're a firefighter, you work at a nuclear power plant, then perhaps do it more frequently every 6 months.
And how much is this? How much would it cost? Let's just say I wanted to do this, and you're going to send somebody to my house, and you're going to do a blood draw, or whatever, and then it goes off. And what's the price here?
$1,995, so just under $2,000.
$2,000. Okay, so I mean, we can break that down any way you want. You can break it down to how many cups of coffee that is in a year, or how many times you go out to eat, or whatnot. It would sound to me like this would probably be as strong an investment in your personal health as you could make, because, as I said, and if if cancer's in your family, whether it's you, your sibling, your spouse, or whoever it may be, chances are you're probably going to be, not your spouse, but your sibling, your mom, your dad. There's a pretty good chance that those particular DNA chains might be passed on to you, right?
Correct. It's a great investment in your health. I mean, look, cancer, unfortunately, is rising so rapidly. Today, 40% of the population will be diagnosed with cancer. In fact, it just went up. It just went up from 39.5 to 40.5 per the National Cancer Institute. What that truly represents is about 1 in 3 women, 1 in 2 men, half of men, and a third of women.
Yeah.
And so if you have 40% of the population being diagnosed with cancer over their lifetime, you absolutely need to check for that, screen for that on a routine basis, and detect it as early as possible, where survival rates are very, very high.
Right.
The problem with cancer is late detection.
Yeah. And
pancreatic cancer is a great example of that.
And that's
pancreatic cancer. Go ahead.
You just said, I mean, you just said it before. It needs to shed to spread. And so what this would do, I would guess, is if there's any indication that there might be a tumor anywhere, the stage 0, I think, is what you do. I mean, this would get it to a point where it's not shedding, it's not metastasizing, so it's going to spread to other organs. And to me, it sounds like it's something that. And again, I go back to what you said earlier. It's not just one kind of cancer. You could identify colon cancer, pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer, things like that as well. It's not just tumor specific to one particular organ, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Because circulating tumor cells, yes. You would
share
take certain characteristics. That's
yeah.
Fine.
Okay. So you would take what this test reveals. And then my guess is you would then go back to wherever you're from, or actually you don't have to leave. As you said, it's all done, in the comfort of your city or your home. And then you would go to a doctor and say, look, I just got this back from Cancer Check Labs, and we might have a problem here. So this is the natural progression with all this, right?
Yes, correct. So if they see a screen where the pathologist identifies cells that are of concern, the next step would be to do imaging and try to seek out where that may be located, and then obviously from there go into the subsequent treatment that your physician, doctor, medical provider recommends.
Yeah, and you've got labs all over the place, and I think that's terrific. Tell me a success story.
We actually have one lab. The lab is based in Medical District in Dallas. That's our central processing lab.
You would get
we have is the ability
I got you.
to send the kits out anywhere in 44, 48 states.
Your lab is there. You could, right, I got you. Okay, got you on that. Give me a success story here, Sumit. Give me a success story where someone actually used your service and it was early detection and they're walking around healthy now.
Well, it's difficult to track them, first of all, because of HIPAA, and the lab has been open for 6 months. So even the treatment cycle after you get detected would take a little bit longer than that. Mm-hmm. What I can tell you is that we detect cancer at a cellular level because we are looking at the cells. Imaging does not detect at a cellular level. It can't because it does not have the resolution. There are not enough pixels. You have billions of cells. You don't have billions of pixels. So what we have seen successfully is the ability to detect circulating tumor cells in the blood pre-imaging.
So
when you detect it that early, it becomes much easier to resolve it.
I got you. I see what you're saying there. Okay. All right. And it's less than two. It's $19.95, and it's Cancer Check Labs, right? Where you go to cancerchecklabs.com, and then I guess it will walk you through the whole process there.
Absolutely. You can go to cancerchecklabs.com. You can purchase the test online, and you can follow us on our social media, Cancer Check Labs.
Yeah. And what has I suppose the other question is once someone gets this and they go to their doctor and the doctor would order imaging, my guess is the imaging would pick it up. What if the imaging doesn't pick it up and your test did pick it up? I guess then that's a conversation you have with your doctor, I suppose, huh?
Yes, I mean, that's a best-case scenario in many ways. that means you have caught it so early at the cellular level before it has even grown large enough to show up on imaging.
It's fantastic.
And that is sort of the goal. You
Yeah.
you don't want to catch it when it's so large that it's very easy to image it.
Right. No, I know that.
Progress.
I know that. All right, Sumit, good stuff. Again, he is the CEO of Cancer Check Labs, and you can find him at cancerchecklabs.com. Thank you, Sumit. Good stuff. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet.